Over the past 3 months, I have completely changed what my day to day looks like as a business owner. I went to another country, made more money than I've ever made before, and honestly transitioned out of feeling pretty lost and not really sure what the next steps were at the end of quarter 4, into complete clarity on what I need to do to get my business to the next level. So, I'm going to talk about everything I learned this quarter and how you can maybe apply it to a hockey media business. So, simple, niche service business. Let's get right into the nitty gritty of the numbers. For revenue, we did a little under 35 this quarter. And that's revenue, not sales. I have not done my accounting or sales, not profit. I've not done my accounting to determine what our net profit was yet because I've been lazy and haven't felt like logging the expenses. So we'll get around to that soon. But I know in January we did just around 50% net margins, which is pretty good. But like then again, we're a small company, don't have a lot of overhead or too much payroll to handle. So good foundation for growth, but that's where we're at numbers wise. My goal this year is to get to $100,000 per month, not necessarily due to the monetary amount, but more so what I picture the business looking like at that stage. And the monetary is just kind of like a good metric, I guess, to measure that on. So 10x this year, that's the plan. This video is going to be broken down into 3 sections, and each section will have kind of a lesson or something I took away from the month. So without further ado, I guess we'll talk about January. Yikes. Do you guys ever feel like you had like a whole chunk in your life that just nothing happened? Like you just didn't move the ball forward at all? Because that's what January was for me. I would say the theme of this month is just figure out what on earth I need to do. Stop wasting time on dumb stuff. For a little bit of context, the business grew a lot from just all of quarter 4. We like doubled and tripled because I was running Facebook ads. Scaled up like our lead gen a lot, and I got to the point where I couldn't handle the leads. So like me and the videographers that work for us, we couldn't do everything. So I'm like, okay, I probably need to build like a little bit of an infrastructure, a little bit of team, etc. And I kind of danced around it, I was just like, oh, these are some people I'm going to reach out to, etc. Like just December, just kind of just coasting because I was still riding off the insane amount of demand we got from November, October, etc. So we were kind of just operating the business as is, not really doing anything, just doing our customer work and not really driving anything forward. Not really marketing either because I couldn't market. Like we couldn't take on any more people. So, the holidays happen and it's January. And I kind of had no clue what to do. Like I knew what I should be doing, which is what I decided was the constraint when I stopped advertising, which is I need to build a structured, just standard way of doing things because there's a lot of times where these contractors that work for me, they don't do a good job or they don't follow my instructions or I don't even know how to manage them. And like, it's the biggest headache. Managing contractors was the biggest headache. So, and I know like the overall goal of the business is to bring people on full time. But for some reason, January, I just danced around the fact that I need to start recruiting. I need to start building infrastructure. And I just did everything that wasn't that. So, the classic entrepreneurial ADD activities. Like, I redid most of our website, which is like, it's the most cliche, like, dumb activity to spend time on ever. I spent, like, a stupid amount of time setting up this software, like, studying, setting up this software that I didn't even really need for where we were at in the business, but yet I still pay for it today because, like, some of the features we use, but, like, we're going to need it in the future, but, like, not really right now. But I just wasted time doing dumb stuff. I was running all these numbers, thinking I was making progress, but then the real bottleneck hit once I decided to start marketing again because that's what I like doing, right? I like revenue-generating activities. It's fun. It feels productive. So after the whole probably first, like, 2-3 weeks of January, just doing random stuff, planning, just making small tweaks to little things, it was literally busy work for the most part. Nothing was really driving growth or driving through the constraint that we needed to break past, which was like, I don't have a standard way of doing things in my business. So I want to scale. We need a standard way of doing things, and we need people to execute on that. So that was what I should have been doing. But then I got bored, right? So I started just doing the smallest little marketing things, just like the website thing actually did work, which is kind of funny. We started getting way more SEO traffic, and like people were filling out lead forms for our websites. That's kind of a funny little payoff there, but just like basic stuff, just couple more call to actions in the email marketing, couple more call to actions in the social media posts, following up with some old leads, etc. And out of nowhere, overbooked again. overbooked again. I'm like, why did I just have to learn the same lesson twice? Why did I spend all of January not doing anything, going back and doing the same thing, and then getting hit with the same problem? And I'm like, this is stupid. And it hit me. I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to do. Got smacked in the face by the business gods twice. There were two main lessons from January. The one is, if you're not sure what to do, you are probably avoiding what deep down you know you need to do. I just explained everything about that there. It's like I was doing all these different things, avoiding what stopped me last time. Like, whatever stopped you from growing in the past, that's probably what you should work on, right? But it's a common tendency to not want it, because it's normally a hard thing. I had no clue how to build a standard operating procedure. I had no clue where I was going to hire people. I don't know how I'm going to manage people yet. But, like, you gotta start. You gotta get in on it. You should never not know what you need to do as an entrepreneur. Because that's the most, like, hopeless feeling ever. I hate it. The second lesson is just, like, the power of branding and what I like to call tomorrow marketing. Well, I don't like to call it, but Frank and Maven, they have a channel. They're like an advertising agency in St. Louis. I watched their podcast. They talk about the concept of tomorrow marketing, which is just like building a brand where you don't need like the immediate sales today, but you want to be on people's radar for like if they need what you're offering down the line, which for our company is kind of perfect because not everyone just needs like hockey media services for every single game of the year, but maybe they have a kid who next year wants to get recruited, so they need someone to film next year, etc. And what I really took away from this was just we really didn't do any marketing at all, but we were just consistently getting leads from like people that filled out our form. Like literally, I'm working with a guy right now who first came inbound a year ago, and I'm finally just like actually closed the sale now. So that's a pretty cool realization, is like if you're not passive marketing, but if you're just building a brand and slowly getting in front of people, just reminding them, we exist over time, they're going to eventually buy. Like when they need what you're offering, you're going to be the one they go to. And I am absolutely positive that we have a pipeline of people I don't even know about that one day plan on buying from us, which is a cool feeling. February was crazy. The theme of February was to survive February. Once I figured out what I needed to do, I started doing it, right, which is great. Which wasn't great about that was in 2 weeks, I was leaving for possibly the biggest business opportunity we ever got, which was the Pee Wee Quebec tournament. If you don't know hockey, it's like this tournament's been going on for 65 years. There's a ton of kids that play in it, that play in the NHL in the future. Big deal, right? Super cool. And I was planning for this trip. So within the time that I had, which was about 2 weeks, when I figured out what I needed to do and then had to leave for the trip, I just got basic operating procedures in place. Like, here's how we're going to upload our files. Here's how we are going to set the settings on our camera to record the game. Here's a checklist for what you need to bring to a game to make sure you have a successful game. It started just very basic stuff, which I actually was able to implement with videographers back home while I was on the trip, which was super helpful. We were off to a good start, right? I knew I wouldn't have time to work on this while we were on the trip, but I knew when I got back from the trip what I needed to do, which is extremely empowering, great feeling. I could make a whole video about this trip alone, but there were three main lessons, takeaways, experiences that really shaped it that I came out with. And the first started before we even went on the trip, and that was selling the packages for the trip. I planned this trip. I found out about it in January, beginning of January, that there was interest from teams wanting us to be there. I fully committed to going and actually booked the trip probably 2 weeks before. So I'm like, oh, I got to pay for this. We only had one team, and I had no clue how much they were going to pay us. Great planning, right? So I put together these packages, and I put together the packages solely in mind with the fact that, like, if we only got one or two teams, we would break even. That's literally the only thing on my mind. I'm like, okay, we're going to make these as value-driven, just packed with everything they could possibly want, and we're going to charge a lot for them. I ended up selling 9 or 10 teams, and we did $13K in 10 days, which was kind of mind-blowing. But the more mind-blowing part was that it was only from 10 different teams, or 9 or 10 teams. Because when we did our first 5-figure month, which was 11K, we had somewhere near like 50 unique purchases or something like that. It was way more work. And I'm like, wait a second. wait a second here. And it's obvious, like, if you sell more expensive stuff, you have to sell less of it, and you can deliver more attention to the people you're selling it to. It's fundamentally a better business model to have, like, less customers, more money per customer. That's great. That's a dream. But for some reason, I never really, like, applied it in my industry. Like, I knew, it's one of those things where it's, like, an unknown. Like, Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom podcast, he talks about the idea how there are certain lessons that are, like, commonly repeated over time, but you can only learn them when you experience them. Like, I don't know, getting rich won't make you happy, stuff like that. And this seemed like that experience for me, where it's like selling expensive things makes so much sense. I don't know why I doubted that. I thought that maybe for our industry, right? Our industry. You know how dumb that is? Hockey parents are nuts. Love them to death. They're my customers. Love them. But they're crazy. They love their kids. They have the money to spend. It's kind of a perfect scenario to charge a lot of money. And these were $1,000 sales that were so much easier than some of, like, the 100, 200 people that I sold at the beginning of the season. Like, it was mind-blowing. So the lesson from that is sell expensive stuff. That is absolutely something we'll be implementing in our business model going forward. We're going to have all-inclusive packages, and we might even, there's consideration of transitioning to, like, a premium model. It's in the books, so keep an eye out for that. That actually leads very nicely into lesson realization, experience number, whatever you want to call it, number 2, which was, for the first time ever, I felt like I experienced what it was like to not have to worry about money. And I mean that more in the sense of, like, just me. Like, I grew up very lucky to grow up in a very comfortable household, didn't really have to worry about too much. But, like, for the first time ever, like, I was alone, and I was self-sufficient with, like, I was pretty much cash flow rich for, like, a week. Like, 13K in 10 days is pretty sweet. And I don't mean in the sense that I was spending irresponsibly, but, like, I just didn't have to worry about little things. Like, I would pick up the tab for the people that I brought with me. I would, I brought a whole bunch of gifts home for my family. Like, just small stuff that I didn't have to worry about, and it was a really cool feeling. And I don't know, I don't have a whole ton of words for it, but it was an interesting experience. And I noticed that as I was going through the trip, I'm like, whoa, like, I'm not even thinking about this. Like, I can just buy stuff and be okay, because I know, like, what I'm buying is such a small portion of the amount of income I'm generating this week. So it was a cool feeling, and I would like to feel like that all the time. So I don't really know. I wish I could put more, like, substance of thought into this experience / like, just realize, like, how it reflected on me. That's all I got for now on that. It was very interesting. It was a cool feeling for sure. And lesson number 3, I obviously didn't go on this trip alone, right? So I spent 10 days with 2 of my team members, which was a super, like, insightful experience in a few different ways. The one guy I've known since September. He's been working with me very closely, kind of like my right-hand man. The other guy I was more recently introduced to, and the first guy introduced me to him. That's how I know him. So I bring these 2 guys on the trip. I've met them before, but haven't spent a whole bunch of time with them in person. And what I learned was the guy I've been working with for a while was so much better than I thought he was. I liked him so much more. I was so much more impressed than I expected to be. I was like, this guy is a killer. Like, awesome. The other guy, I was like, I don't like this guy as much as I thought I liked him. And I wasn't really a fan of the way he carried himself or the way he treated certain scenarios, etc. Like, I'm not knocking the guy. He did a very good job, but, like, he wasn't the kind of person I'd want to build this kind of company with. So just spending 10 days with people, you learn a lot about them. You learn a lot about how they act in stressful situations. You learn about how they act when they're tired. You learn the way they carry themselves, like, just, like, small stuff. And being able to observe that nuance, honestly, I think set the tone for everything I worked on in March. Kinda. So I'll explain a little bit more about it in a second. But 3 takeaways from the trip, right? Awesome trip. Sell expensive stuff. Make enough money where you can feel cash flow rich all the time. And bring every mandatory 10-day trip with everyone you hire. No, I'm kidding. I mean, the real only, like, takeaway would be the sell expensive stuff. but I think there are certain things I discussed that maybe you can get small insights from in this chapter of the video, right? Because the other two aren't really lessons. They're just observations more so, but yeah, that's what we got for February. February was crazy. I wish March wasn't the third month of the quarter because most of the people have probably dropped off the video by now. Maybe not if I did a good job, but this was easily I don't want to say the most I've learned in a month, but I've just gotten so... Alright, in order to explain this month, I think I have to start with the fact that I've gained such like a more nuanced understanding of focus. I think a lot of this started to stem from the Quebec trip because I set the tone for focus knowing that I wasn't going to work on business stuff. No matter how much my little entrepreneurial mind wanted to do stuff to move the business forward, all I had the capacity to do in an effective manner was make sure our customers were happy and complete the customer work, the ridiculous amount, the $13,000 worth of customer work throughout that period of time. That's all I could do every single day. Editing, filming, talking to customers, etc. And anyone who's watched my channel knows that the actual editing and filming is my least favorite part of this business. I like doing the business stuff. So that was a test. It was a focus test, and it kind of set the tone for what my upcoming month would look like. And it was clear to me, like I knew we were just continuing down the path of what we started in February. Creating systems, creating operating procedures, but more than that, I had the chance to reflect on what down to the smallest detail are the standards I want people to work in my company to exemplify, and what is the business going to look like if we do this properly and if we achieve our vision. What even is our vision? What even is our mission? And I pretty much made a document with the realization that even if I have all these job descriptions or SOPs and stuff like that just dialed in to the point where like they can follow the step-by-step process and create a repeatable quality result, even if they have that, they need to know why we do things the way we do things. They need to know what we value. They need to know where we're trying to go. And I think I've gotten significantly better at that because every single day, tying back to the point of focus, I've woken up. I've started by reading the E-Myth Revisited, which is the book that has kind of shaped my whole standardization process. It's about, why small businesses don't work. It's because they don't have systems, and about building like a franchise prototype for your business. Just rereading chapters of that book as I build out these systems, and then just spending the first like 3-4 hours of my day up until like noon point. I'm not an early riser. I'm like an 8:30, 9 kind of guy. Don't judge me. And that's the only thing I'm doing. Like, I'm not even checking my phone. Like, yesterday, I didn't check my phone. Like, I didn't even, touch it. I turned off my alarm. I didn't touch my phone until, like, noon. Which, back when I was scrambling and not focused, that would be impossible. I'd be just putting out fires all day. And luckily, this kind of standardization process, timeline-wise, ties in with a slower season of hockey. So I have the space to breathe and work on this stuff, which is great. Let me catch my thought real quick because I lost where I was going. Hold up. Yeah, I mean, there has just been one central focus, which has been building the foundation for future growth of my business. Like, to put it simply, that's exactly what I'm working on. And that's what I do every single day. Like, one task. Like, do that. There's multiple different steps to that task, but that's what you do. Like, outside of the normal maintenance business activities, like talking to customers, answering inquiries, posting on social media, that's all I'm doing. Like, there's no other deep work throughout the day. It's just that. And that has allowed me to get so much done this month. It's actually been insane. Like, when I look back at everything I had in place at the start of the month, compared to now, which is April 1st as we're recording this, it's impressive, and they're dialed in, and they're I don't know, I'm happy with them. And I think I've gotten, I don't know how to explain this. I kind of talked about this, I think. Did I talk about this? Or is this a video I never posted? I always had, yeah, it's called setting the standard of my business, something like that. How do I explain this? I've been able, by like having the time to think, because when you're just doing one thing for multiple hours straight, like besides getting up to pee and grabbing coffee, you're just like immersed in it. And that's kind of where I think the power of focus is, right? And I don't know, how do I say this? How do I say this? Okay, so this is like a tactical thing right here. If you have a bunch of stuff that you know you need to do that's not the deep work in your business, you need to do that because your deep work's not going to be nearly as effective. So what I started recently implementing that I didn't really recognize until this was like the third day I did it, I'm calling these my shitstorm days, where I just bang out like a bunch of different tasks that suck but need to get done, so then I can have like, because that's inevitable. Like as a business owner, as I don't know why I paused there. My brain's like, I've been talking for so long. As a business owner, like the concept of not checking your phone until noon is almost impossible. It sucks because you know there are people texting you, right? But if you have these, I've started doing these days where it's just like I'm getting everything done to the point where like all these boring administrative tasks to the point where like I can probably have another 3-day window before I have to do another one of those days where I can just focus days, straight focus days. So like, for example, the other week I was just like, I had to do my taxes, right? So I was going back through like all my card statements. I was following up with the people who I need to collect cash from, which sucks, bro. I need a better collection process because there are so many fucking people that owe me money right now. It happens. Just completing like edits that didn't have a strict deadline but did need to get done eventually, scheduling day-to-day things like doctor's appointments, haircut, got my haircut last week, but just cramming all these like annoying things that are not the deep work that's moving the business forward into one day. And what I've noticed after like 3 of these days is normally these things like they only really take up to like probably like I'd say like 8 a.m. to like 2 p.m. You're done all the shitstorm stuff. So you have the rest of the day to just work on the stuff that does move the business forward. But if you didn't take the time to get all the stuff done that you needed to get done, like the annoying stuff, the small stuff, you wouldn't be able to get fully immersed in the deep stuff. So that's where I'm trying to put it into words where it's like you can just work so much better. And this is obvious, I feel like, but you can work so much more effectively when you don't have things behind your shoulder that, I don't know, there's probably an analogy for that. I can't talk anymore. But when you don't have things you know that need to be getting done, but so, like when you know you only have this, that's all you have, you can just go. You can just go. And that's when I've been able to get done some really good deep work lately. And it's so much fun. Like it's not even fun. Like sometimes it's like, how do I phrase this in a way that they get it? It's almost like writing a book. Like the things I've been working on lately have been extremely writing based as far as instructions, and then the clusterfuck of a document that explains our values, vision, background, etc. It's been a lot of writing, so just like the thought process of breaking things down in ways that get the point across better. It's like, it's brutal. And sometimes you'll be working for like hours and your output won't feel like a lot, right? Like you maybe only got 3 or 4 sentences done, but it's like those 3 or 4 sentences laid the path for what you're going to work on in your next work chunk. I don't know if any of this is making sense, but the way I've been able to structure my days has allowed me to get so much more effective work done to the point where like we have a completely different business now, even though it doesn't look like it from the outside. We have a completely different business now than we did at the start of the month. And I'm really excited to see how this goes moving forward based on what I've been able to build over this past month. So, God, I don't know. Is that all I got? Most of all I got, but I have like a couple more tactical focus tips that have helped me. So, for the process of like laying the foundation and standardizing the business, there are a billion different things that I could standardize, and that kind of at points it left me a bit like anxious of like what I need to do, and I started wondering, I'm like, am I paralysis analyzing right now? Like, am I struggling to find a balance before like taking action and making sure everything's perfect? That was something I was concerned about, because I'm like, dude, doing all this deep work where you're not generating revenue, it almost feels like guilty in a way, but it's what needs to be done for now. So I try to get like crystal clear on like, sure, there are a billion different things I can standardize, but what needs to get done first, to the point where like, if like, what's the highest leverage task where if this is true, then I have a certain amount of time before I need to standardize the next thing. So that allowed me to just get like videographers and editors SOPs in place, and the values document, and like, okay, here's how we're going to onboard and train them. We don't even need to worry about creating a sales document or a manager document until we have more videographers. So like, just working on things in orders of magnitude helps, especially when you have like a big chunked up task, like standardizing your business, setting a foundation for future growth. Like, you could do so much stuff you could work on. So I was really trying to figure out like, what are things so it's like focus within focus, bro. It's like like not only micro focus but like daily focus, because like micro focus I consider a quarter. Like, what are you trying to achieve this quarter? But then like, what are you trying to achieve today? And then what are you trying to achieve at 9 a.m. today compared to 2 p.m.? I don't know, I'm getting too deep in the focus, but like, pretty much there's layers to focus, and I've gotten significantly better at chunking down the focus. So that's great. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on is focus through the content you're consuming. I know a lot of entrepreneurs or people that just want to get better in general consume a lot of content, and you know, they like to learn on the internet. I like to learn on the internet too, but it gets to a point where content can become a distraction. So something I started implementing, focus, baby. I've only been like consuming the content that applies to what I'm working on now. So like, I'll see here's how to make the best Facebook ads post, and as much as I would love to click on that, I add it to the watch later, and I don't even worry about it. I've stopped consuming a lot of Alex Hormozi, or not stopped, but haven't been consuming as much. Like, I'm probably like 5 podcasts behind right now, which is a sin, just because like what he's talking about isn't necessarily as applicable to my scenario. But like Layla Hormozi, his wife, for example, she does a lot of management stuff and building a team stuff. I'm consuming more of her. Focusing on things that are related to the constraint is helpful, because then you're washing it over your brain just constantly. It's just like, okay, you're just reinforcing the focus, versus like, oh, if you go and consume like a marketing thing when you're not marketing, it's like, what does that do? It's like, you're not going to remember that in whenever you start marketing again. So I've been trying to even focus on that level. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I mean, the first month was brutal. Didn't know what I was doing at all. Running around like a crazy person. February was equally running around like a crazy person, but I learned a lot. And it was a fun trip. It was great to go to another country, and literally so many things I could talk about with that, but maybe another day. And then March was, I don't know, I don't want to get dramatic and be like one of the most revolutionary months of my my very short entrepreneurship career, but I really think that this month it's one of those months where you're going to look back on in a year, or in 6 months, or in fucking 5 years, and be like, holy shit, like the amount of progress that was made in that month, in March of 2025, really raised the bar and set the foundation for everything we've been able to achieve so far. Like, that's, you know, my future self talking right now. Getting a little crazy here, but yeah. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. If you made it this far in this video, drop a comment on what your biggest takeaway was, if there's anything you learned, or yeah, I don't know. So I think that's it for this Q1 review. Maybe I'll make a video this week. I always say like, I'm gonna make a video talking about this, and then I don't do it. So I don't want to like make promises and not deliver on it. So maybe I'll make a video this week talking about Q2 goals and what needs to be accomplished then. Because I'm so focused now, bro. I already know. Alright, that's it. Drop a comment if you did learn something. That'd be sweet. Thanks, guys.